Hello. Chairman, good to see you, my friend. How you doing? Good evening to both of you. It's about what I thought would happen tonight. Hopefully I'm live. If I'm live, and give me a hello, maybe a little check-in. Get started here in a couple minutes. All right, we're live. It's good. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you. All right, I'm going to go over briefly what we're going to talk about tonight, and then we'll let a few more people hopefully chime in. If you are here, give us your name, where you're from, where you're watching from, all that kind of good stuff. You guys know the drill. So tonight, we're going to go over a couple things. Kind of the theme is, I have notes. See those notes? Man, I did my homework. We're going to go through, should you push through or should you change the plan? For those of you who know. Consistency is the key, right? When we're talking about weight loss, but life gets in the way sometimes. So I think consistency is more about staying loyal to the goal and not blindly loyal to one particular method. You know, there's lots of methods that'll get you to the end goal. Adam, what's up, man? Glad you could be here. Adam, are you going to be here the whole time? Because if you are, I'm going to make you a moderator. Oh, Dallin. Dallin's here. He's moderating. Add as a moderator. Adam, you're now a moderator as well. This is Dallin. So, JC, welcome. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna go over a couple things here. We're gonna go over should you push through, should you change the plan? I'm gonna talk about some things in my life that have happened recently and kind of go over what I've been doing the last 4.5 months. That'll be a brief segment, and then I'm gonna talk about what shouldn't change and what is allowed to change on your own weight loss journey. We're gonna try and blow this up, make it bigger than me, not just me and my problems. And then we're gonna go over, is it adaptation or is it an excuse? Because I think that's a key. And then we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna give you a few scenarios. We're gonna talk about whether they're the kind of scenarios where you should push through or whether it's okay to pivot. So then we'll open it up. We'll have some chat and everything. So anyway, if you're new, if you just joined us, we're gonna get started in a couple of minutes here. Usually I like to give you about 5 minutes to check in. So if you're here, let us know, maybe your name, where you're watching from. We'll get into questions later. Usually I like to kind of do my spiel for about a half hour, and then we'll get into the things. If you're checking in, the channel's really focused on weight loss. It's focused on my journey and what I'm doing to try and lose 110 pounds as a 54-year-old middle-aged man who has struggled with weight for most of his adult life. And so I kind of am documenting the journey. And it's every day's not easy. Some days are good, some days are bad, some days it's a challenge, mentally and physically. So, welcome. Let us know where you're from. It says there's 20 of you online. Well, no, there's not. I don't know. The numbers just pop up and down, especially when we just go live, because a lot of people just check in and go, who's this fat guy, and they leave, which is understandable. I get it. What's up, fish? Good to have you. Good to have you. All right. I'm going to give it about 15 more seconds, and I'm just going to dive in. I need to take these live streams and edit out the first 5 minutes so people who are watching back on the replay can just kind of jump right into the meat of it. Awesome. All right. So we're 5 minutes in. So the first shameless plug of the night, if you want to donate to the channel, you can donate with a super chat. Any proceeds, I only get a small portion of that, but any proceeds that I get goes toward equipment, saving up the pennies for a receiver for the mic so that we can get better audio. I know in this room it's kind of echoey. I apologize. Just doing the best of what I got to work with. The lights are not changing color, but the exposure changes based on where my head is at. So anyway, all right, let's get into today's topic. So the topic is, should you push through or change the plan? Now recently, last couple of videos, for those of you who have been around, man, I have been getting some comments in the comment section, which we always have a good active comment section on the channel. We've got a good community brewing, but man, it's like, sometimes I go, I don't know what I did. I pissed some people off. There's some people who are sharing some opinions about what I'm doing, about me, about a lot of things. And I don't get my feathers ruffled too easily, but sometimes it gets a little bit old. So I want to kind of address the topic, but not really about me, make it like a bigger topic. So, you know, last night in the video, I talked about why my plans have changed a couple times. And like I said, got some people talking. And I think some people think that adapting to your life, to your situation is part of the process. And some people think that changing the plan becomes an excuse. So I want to kind of dive into that and say, hey, what are the, you know, what are the... That was a good one. Thanks, Don. People are idiots, dude. Oh, it's funny. It cracks me up, dude. Okay, anyway, can I hide the comments? I need to just hide the comments. It's hilarious. So what I basically want to talk about is this. Okay, so I want to make it bigger than my situation. You know, I want to talk through when I think it's good to push through and stay the course, and when it's good to change the plan and tweak what you're doing for your benefit. So I'm going to give you my real life example. This is just me over the last 4.5 months. I started on March 16th doing my 110 pound weight loss journey. I started making YouTube videos on March 3rd. So it's, you know, I don't know, that puts me, March 16th, that puts me, I mean, I think I'm about week 20, which is roughly 4.5 months into it. And so the bottom line is this, I did the same plan. I came up with my very first plan. I did it for 90 days consistently. And that plan was very simple. It was work out with weights 3 days a week, do some sort of a mobility workout. Now, what I was doing then was I was practicing sitting in a squat. I was practicing hanging from a bar. I was doing some Tai Chi type mobility workout, arm swings and, you know, things like that. And that was kind of my plan. I documented that. It's filmed. You can go back in the channel. I was solid for 90 days. And I had really good success. I lost 32 pounds in the first 90 days. The weight was coming off. Things were going good. And then I hurt my shoulder. Now, I think the shoulder was already hurt. So let's just call it not really hurting my shoulder. I aggravated an old injury. And I got to the point where I could not lift anymore. So, you know, doing this kind of movement with even like a 5-pound dumbbell, or doing like a side lift, or my son had taught me some awesome ones where you take the cable and you kind of go across your body, and I was feeling it in my shoulders for the first time. I'm like, oh dude, I'm gonna build some shoulders, you know, first time in my life. And then this shoulder is just tweaked. It just is. So I may have a torn labrum. I may have some rotator cuff problems. I don't know. I really can't afford to you know, go get an MRI or have a surgery or something like that. So I had to adapt. That's just the bottom line. I had to adapt. So what I did was I developed a 30-minute workout that had nothing to do with weights. Some of it had some bands for some like, you know, more therapeutic type shoulder rehab type work. I filmed those 2 workouts. One was more focused on strength training, one was more focused on mobility. And I filmed those, put them online, and that was really my plan for the next 90 days. Well, about 2 weeks into it, man, the shoulder was just still hurting. It was still hurting even worse. And what happened was, for me, this is my own personal story, that really discouraged me. And as I got discouraged, I started falling back into old habits. So I started eating some things that I shouldn't have eaten. On my weekends, I was doing really good. If I had an off day or an off-planned meal, I would eat that off-planned meal and I would recover. Well, about the time that those mobility and those 30-minute workouts weren't even getting it done for me, and I was still in a lot of pain, I think I started getting kind of depressed. I started getting in my head emotionally, and I did what I've done in the past a lot. I turned to food. And so a weekend where maybe I had a little bit of a travel or a plan, something or other, turned into more of a whole weekend. And I documented. I would say, hey, I kind of spiraled this weekend, or I would make a video talking about it, because I'm trying to document the journey honestly, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And then I finally, after I actually kind of hid. I didn't do my one Monday weigh-in for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And I knew where I was. I was getting on the scale, but I didn't want to show you. And so I finally said, okay, enough, dude. There's 3 things that I got to do. And I kind of reset and I said, okay, I got to keep these 3 promises. Number 1 was to weigh myself every Monday and have a weigh-in for accountability, for results, whether the results are good, whether the results are bad. And I've done that the last 2 Mondays. And the results weren't good. So it's embarrassing and it sucks. But not beating myself up, we're just continuing forward. And then the second goal was to do intermittent fasting Monday through Friday. Now, you gotta understand, I've explained this, I've talked about it in videos. I do intermittent fasting Monday through Friday because it's easy. It's easy for me. It's not because I'm telling you that you should do it, or because that's the best thing on the planet for anybody, man, woman, or child, or anything like that. I'm just saying it works for me. It's what I've actually always done. If I'm on any kind of plan, I've pretty much done intermittent fasting Monday through Friday. That way I don't have to meal prep. I don't have to think about lunch. I just don't eat. Then I go home and eat whatever kind of plan I'm doing. 20 years ago, that was a balanced protein and a carb with a veggie. I've done keto in the past. I've done some carnivore. I've done a bunch of different things. I even was like raw food for a while. I've talked about this all the time. If you're a frequent watcher, you should know my history by now. If you're new, then it's new to you. But bottom line is, 3 things were: don't hide from the weigh-ins, be accountable, do intermittent fasting Monday through Friday, then just stick to your regular program or whatever I'm doing on the weekend, and then do a 30 minutes of movement. And again, I had to scale back from my 30-minute strength and mobility workouts because they were hurting my shoulder. So I just did 30 minutes of movement. So I made a commitment to go on a walk or to jump on my walking pad. And I have done that every day for the last 3 weeks. Let's see, what's today? Wednesday. So 2.5 weeks. So since I made that goal, I've done it every single day. I have not faltered. And I've hit the weigh-ins, and I'm holding true to those promises. But what's funny is I get on, I make a video about it, and then people start just getting ticked off. It's hilarious, because I get all sorts of people that jump on the channel and try and tell me what to do, and yet I have not told anybody what to do. I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing the things that I struggle with, the mental part of it, the emotional part of it, the physical part of it, the dietary part of it, the workout part of it, all those things. I'm sharing the results. I'm sharing before and after pictures. I'm sharing my current weight. I'm showing you the graph of the actual scale that syncs to my phone. I mean, I'm not hiding anything, but it's like you still can't please people, right? And I get part of it is because some people get emotionally invested into my journey. They found the channel somehow. Somehow they found the channel. And they started watching, they go, hey man, this guy, whatever. They like my story. They like my personality, whatever. I think there's a couple people that just want to see me fail, and that's fine too. People watch things on the internet for all sorts of reasons, right? But I think that the key for me is even though I've modified a couple times in the last, I don't even know, what is it? Not even 120 days, but probably about 100 days in the last, no, about 4.5 months. Yeah, about 100 to 110 days. Let's put it that way. Even though I've had to make a couple modifications for shoulder injury, I didn't drop the goal. The goal is still 110 pounds. I just replaced the plan that I couldn't do at the time with a plan that I feel like I could do at the time. And I think there's a big difference between making an excuse or taking your eye off the goal or making a plan that's not going to take you a step forward to the goal. So I want to talk a little bit about what is okay or what shouldn't change. You know, if you're in the boat like me, because I know everybody is, right? Everybody goes up and down, right? There's no such thing as standing still. You're either moving forward or sliding backwards. So in a weight loss journey, if your goal is to lose 50 pounds, mine's 110 pounds. And even the goal, honestly, the 110 pounds is a number. It's a number to set a benchmark out there. Really, I mean, 110 pounds from where I first set that goal puts me at about 155 pounds, which according to all metrics, charts, and everything tells me that that's about where I should be. But I don't really care. I mean, 155, 160, I got down to 162 pounds before. I looked phenomenal. But I still had a little bit of belly fat. You know, the six pack was starting to come through, but it wasn't quite, popping out. So 155 pounds with the right body fat percentage, I'd be looking pretty darn good. So, and I know how to get there. I know what I did before. I can do it again. But there's obstacles along the way. So I'm trying to document those, trying to share those, because I know, I mean, you don't have to take long. You can look around. What's up, Wub? You can look around whatever country you live in. I'm in America, so you can walk out your front door and trip over a fat person. You know what I mean? Literally, you don't have to, you can go anywhere. You can go anywhere and see people that are dealing with the same kind of crap I deal with, right? So I think I'm just a real person sharing a real journey, talking about real issues and real things that are setbacks, real things that are setbacks for a lot of people. And again, not really preaching, not selling a coaching program, not trying to tell you what to do. You can do whatever diet you want to do. I still maintain that the best workout program or the best diet for you is the one that you can stick with. And we're all different. We're all different. So some people have a really easy time to stick with certain things, and some people have a really hard time to stick with that exact same thing. So anyway, so here is what I think should not change. I'm going on right off my notes here. But number one, your why should not change. So even though, you hit roadblocks along the journey, and I have my shoulder and I've had a few things that have set me back, right? And I've allowed those to even affect me mentally. I've fessed up to that, right? So, but the bottom line is your why. Your reason for changing your health and your life should not change. Now, if it's not strong enough to get you to really be committed, then you might have to reassess that. We did a whole live stream about talking about your why. I'm not going to kind of go re-hit that again. Number two, the second thing that really shouldn't change is your honesty. Now, I talk about this a lot because in the health and wellness field on the interweb, on the net, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and all those, I mean, dude, come on, let's be honest. 70% of the influencers are people that never had a weight problem. They're in their 20s and they're hot. Young dudes in the six pack and hot chicks in bikinis. I mean, you know what I mean? And they're fitness folks, right? But the bottom line is, not saying that they're no good or they don't know anything, but there's not a journey there. There's just, hey, I'm fit, come follow me, right? And a lot of the people who were fat, like me, maybe didn't think to document it. So what you get is you get a before and you get an after, and you get a really sweet picture of, hey, look, here's the results I got. But you don't really know what that took. You don't really know what they really did, because maybe they didn't share the journey. Maybe they didn't want to share the journey, and that's fine too. A lot changes too once you're fit, right? I remember the first time when I did the transformation program, I didn't want to put my fat pictures online, and that was more of an enclosed community. So it wasn't like just broadcasting it on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. But the deal is once I started seeing the results, yeah, I was okay. I was okay with you seeing the fat guy because the after picture looked freaking phenomenal. And if I can find those on my computer tonight, I think tomorrow's story time is going to be about that story and show you those before and afters, so you can see that I'm not lying. I've done it before and know what I'm talking about. But the other thing that shouldn't change. So honesty. I think honesty is a big deal. I think honesty is a big one. I don't want to document something that isn't really happening, which is why sometimes you guys get the ugly, and why sometimes you get maybe even a fiery emotional side of me, or maybe even a little bit down or something, because I'm trying to just document the real topics. If it's in my head and I'm pondering it and stuff, it's usually coming out in a video somewhere. Number one, don't change your minimum commitments. The promises you can keep you connected to the journey. And so for me, where I step back, but I came back to those 3 promises. I'm keeping those promises because number one, we talked about this last week in the live, but it's keeping a promise to myself. It's keeping me tied into the journey. It's keeping me tied into making progress, step forward. And then the thing that should not change is your willingness to return after a bad day or a bad week, right? Most of our journeys aren't perfect. Now, I will say when I did that transformation program, it was pretty damn near perfect. 18, 20 weeks, that was the challenge, and I literally didn't stray. I did exactly what I needed to do. But see, there was an ending point. So it was easy to get committed for a while, right? Great, thanks, Adam. What's up, Banjo? How you doing? So let me ask you this: what's one part of your plan that is not negotiable right now? Because I think you have to have something that's non-negotiable. Now, what is allowed to change? I'm going to hit this next section for about the next 5 minutes or so. I think that when you have an injury or a limitation that makes the original version of your plan unrealistic, it's okay to adapt. Notice, I said adapt. I didn't say quit. It's okay to adapt. Because, like I said, if you have a legitimate injury, I can't lift a weight over my head or something like that with my shoulder right now, and even some of the mobility workout work, I don't think that's an excuse. I think that's a legitimate thing and you work around it. Now, I will tell you this, what I could be doing is I could be doing squats, and I could be doing some calf raises, and I could be doing some of that stuff, and I'm probably gonna add that stuff back in pretty quick here. But for me, I was not only spiraling physically, because I was spiraling physically, I started to spiral mentally. And when I spiraled mentally and emotionally, I started reverting back to food, which is old habits. So, which is why I came back to 30 minutes of walking and getting back on my diet, especially Monday through Friday when I'm at work and all that stuff, because I had started eating out and doing fast food. So I went back to intermittent fasting to get rid of all that stuff. Because that's usually what works for me. And so I keep in those 3 promises, and that's what I've been doing. Now, what about the eating approach? When it no longer fits your real life or helps you stay consistent, is it okay to change what you're doing? First of all, it's okay to change what you're doing just because you want to. You don't have to, I'm drinking Coke Zero today. I may quit here real soon. You can do whatever you want. But again, if you're having trouble with your dietary choices, and I hate the word diet. Everybody gets all upset about the word diet, but you can say your lifestyle choices, your food choices, whatever. But I mean, whatever you're doing, just put food in your mouth, and whatever label you want to stick on it. If you're having trouble sticking to that, and you're starting to fail, it's okay to modify, right? You can change that approach. It's also allowed to change your schedule. So sometimes things come into the way. Work, travel, family, could be weather. You have a change in finances. I thought of the example of, my wife's a nurse. So like right now, she's got a Monday through Friday schedule, and she goes to work in the morning, 6 a.m. So if, let's say, she had a different job and she was, used to work out at 6 a.m. and you get a new job at the hospital, whatever, your shift starts at 6 a.m. You don't have a choice. You got to adjust, right? So there are circumstances. That do apply, right? Again, the intensity. If the alternative is doing nothing, then I think it's okay to adapt the intensity. And I think it's okay to change the tool without changing the destination. So it's just a matter of figuring out for you what works for you. Like, we all have different goals, but I think the common goal that we all have here is we all want to get to a healthier place. We all want to live a more fulfilling life. And it's not all just about weight loss. I look at relationships. I want to have a better relationship with my spouse. If you're married, you probably do too. I'm not saying that your marriage is bad, but it can always be better, right? If you're a mother or father, you may want to have a better relationship with your kids, or you might want to, go, hey, I could do better at this. It's about self-improvement. It's in for the whole total person, not just diet and exercise. Now, I do believe that diet and exercise and getting healthier helps you. It's a domino effect. It helps you in a lot of other areas in your life. But moving on. So what's an adaptation? What's an excuse? I thought of a few questions here. Had a little bit of help from the internet too on this one. But five questions to run every plan change through to see if it's an excuse or an adaptation. Does the replacement still move me toward the same goal? So if you change your workout plan, but your new workout plan is still going to get you to take a step toward the same goal, but maybe, it doesn't affect that injury or that pain or that whatever circumstance that you have, or if you had to change your schedule or something like that we've already talked about, then I think that's an adaptation. It's not an excuse. Number two, am I replacing the habit or simply dropping it? So if it's something that's good that you're doing and you're just tired of it, or you're dropping it, then it probably is an excuse, right? But if it's something, then you're, you don't want to get rid of any good habits. We talked last week about a start, stop, and continue. I know a couple of you mentioned in the comment you were going to start doing that, but one of the leadership tools that I learned a long time ago was, kind of a self-assessment. What do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to continue doing that's going well? So I think, am I replacing the habit or am I simply dropping it? Number three is the new commitment specific enough to measure? So is it measurable? Number four, am I being honest about why I'm changing it? So again, here comes the honesty with yourself, right? Do I want to change this diet or exercise plan or my schedule because I'm being lazy, or because it actually hurts me to do such? Just an example, right? Number five, when circumstances improve, this is a good one. When circumstances improve, will I reassess instead of hiding in the easier version forever? So, for example, use me as the example. So I've taken a step all the way back to walking. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? So, Sharon cracked me up in the chairman. So the bottom, some of you guys are funny. Anyway, the bottom line is, I replace the weights with daily walking while the shoulder's not feeling good. Now, if the shoulder starts to heal on its own, I would much rather be lifting weights. I like lifting weights, especially upper body. I'll be honest, I don't really love doing lower body. I hate doing squats. My legs are weak. I mean, they're good for me. That's probably the better thing to work out, actually, for overall health. But I don't enjoy it as much. I I'm like a lot of guys. I like lifting upper body weights. I love working my triceps and my biceps and, some chest and things like that. But so if the shoulder starts feeling better, will I reassess and go back? Absolutely, I will. But you got to ask yourself that question too. Um, I know Sharon's having an ankle surgery, so that's a good question to ask. She might be limited for the next while she's healing and while she's doing rehab and recovering, but can she go back to what she was doing before? Or do you use that as an excuse to let it spiral and snowball into something else? I'm not picking on you, Sharon. I love you. Anyway, so I think that's a good question. Now I want to cover a couple things, and we're going to open it up here, 7:30, which is time for my second shameless plug. If you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to give a super chat. I'm really, really trying to get that receiver for the microphone. So any amount would be great if you want to donate a super, and it'll go straight to the channel. No one's retiring off this thing. So we're just doing it. Okay, push or pivot, push through or pivot. Here's a couple questions I want you to think about. You don't have to answer. If you want to play along in the chat, go ahead. But if not, whatever. So push through. Think about these things. If the plan is uncomfortable, if the plan's boring, if it's inconvenient, but it's still workable, you should probably push through, right? The time to pivot is if the current method is blocked, it's harmful, maybe you're the injury or something like that, unrealistic, or it's no longer serving the goal. Because if you haven't let go of the goal, but maybe the current methodology that you're using isn't getting you there in the right direction, then it's time to pivot. So there's the scenario. You can comment, push or pivot, if you'd like to play along. You hate your workout, but you're physically able to do it. Should you push through or should you pivot? That one could be a personal choice. If you hate it, there's nothing wrong with changing it if you don't like what you're doing. But if it's really becoming an excuse, like, I just hate this, I don't want to do it, but it's working for you, then I say get uncomfortable and push through it. Get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Right, Banjo. So I agree. I say it's a push through. You guys got to be quicker on these things if you want to participate. We're going to be moving along here. I got a couple more here. Walking hurts because of a real injury. Twisted your knee, you got a bum ankle, whatever. It hurts to actually do it. Push through or pivot. Hey, thanks, Adam. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon. Yeah, it's time to be nice. I agree. That's when it's pivot, right? If there's a real circumstance, a real injury, something that's really stopping you from moving forward, pivot. Don't let go of the goal. Keep the end goal in sight, but pivot to something that will take you another step closer to the goal, but without hurting yourself in the process, right? So I think we're all in agreement there. Here's the next one. Your meal plan works, but you're tired of eating the same food. So you're bored. But the meal plan works. Push or pivot. Push through or pivot. Now, I would probably say push through, because boredom is not, you can, like I said, it's your life, it's your choice. But for this exercise, I would say if the meal plan is working and you're losing weight, let's say, or you're building muscle, if you're in that phase or whatever, I'd say push through, right? Suck it up and get over it, Buttercup, right? And just keep moving forward. Everyone agreed? I like the fact you guys are participating. Appreciate that. Okay, next one. I got a couple more here. Your work schedule changed and your normal workout time disappeared. So I kind of already used that as an example, but that would be a pivot, right? That's pretty obvious. So life got in the way, work changed. You can't really control that unless you're self-employed or a self-made millionaire or something like that. You know, you're retired or whatever, right? But for those of us who are still in the working class and have to go punch the old time clock every day, you got to pivot, right? That's just a circumstance. But again, you don't let go of the goal. The goal doesn't change. The outcome that you're shooting for doesn't change. You're just adapting, right? So you pivot. All right, next one. You missed a week and you feel like starting over with a whole new system. Now, I think I get accused of this one sometimes. It's not what has happened here. But I think sometimes I get, it doesn't happen so much with you good folks that are loyal, who have literally been part of the journey since March, since the channel was launched. You know, like I said, I got Mark. What's up, dude? I did have a video not go viral, but for me it was viral. I had one video have 11,000 views and I got 350 subscribers right out the gate. So it was like my 6th video. So a lot of people found me right in the beginning, pretty quick on. I mean, not a lot. I mean, hundreds, right? And so some of you have been around since then. So you kind of know the whole story. And so most of you would say, you know, that the changes that I have made were for a purpose and not an excuse. And my pivoting or adapting was warranted. Now, sometimes I get people who have watched a video or two, or they're late to the game and no fault of their own. You know what I mean? They have well-meaning, but they come in and they just try and like, you know, give all the advice in the world. You know, you should do it my way. There is no other way. And you know, you're making excuses and you're this, that. They start with the accusations and the name calling and everything, but they haven't been around to even pay attention long enough to see the whole story. So, but you know, I agree with what you guys are saying. If you've missed a week and you feel like starting over with a completely new system, suck it up, dude. Push through. You got to push through. It's time to be nice. Yes, you have been here since the beginning. Thank you. You're the best. Okay, last one here of the push or pivot. I kind of like doing this. This is fun. I wish I had more examples. The scale is not moved for 2 weeks, but you have followed the plan. Ooh, think about that one. The scale hasn't moved. You're on a plateau, but you're still following your plan, right? Whatever that may be. Push or pivot. Push or pivot. Why does that sound funny? Push through or pivot. Sharon says pivot. John says pivot. Okay. Anybody else? It's happened many times. Oh, yeah. It's time to be nice, says push. I'm torn on this one. Let me. Fast. Okay, Banjo. Okay, here's my thought. In general, I'd say push through because you're in a plateau, right? Let's say you're doing everything right, and okay, let's go back to number one, honesty. Are you really doing everything right? Because sometimes we tell ourselves I'm doing everything right, but I went and had ice cream last night. Oh, the scale hasn't moved, right? So first of all, be honest. If you've really done everything for 2 weeks and things just aren't moving, I don't think you need to abandon your whole plan. This is a hybrid for me. It's a push through, but momentarily pivot, right? Because I've been in plateaus. I'm sure we all have. Usually my advice for someone who hits a plateau would be change something up, you know? Now, this is where people are gonna, oh man, here, I'm lighting the fuse. Everyone get out your hate. This is where I do something like I go back and do a 7-day carnivore reset or something. Because I go, something's not moving, something's not right. I'm gonna do something to shake up my system, right? This is where I'd say pull out your MyFitnessPal or your carb counter and track your calories and your macros for a week or two. Now, I'm not big on tracking. I don't really enjoy it. Some people just want to rake me over the coals because I don't like tracking. I've tracked so much in my life, it's ridiculous. I pretty much know what I'm eating. And I'm either on plan or I'm 100% off plan. So my problem isn't tracking, because guess what? You can if you're a tracker, right? But you also are someone who's like me, and it's like you struggle with just life gets in the way and you revert to food or something. You can track all they want, but if you're off the plan and you go off plan, you're not going to be tracking what's off plan, right? It's easy. Okay, I've been here where some of you are right now, because I have some people on the channel who have lost a lot of weight and who are in maintenance mode, and they're keeping it off and they're doing wonderful. I've been there. Okay, I was that guy. And I remember being like, I am never going to be fat again. I will never gain the weight again. And what I'm doing is totally working. I feel great. I look great. I'm whatever. And guess what? A year later, I was gaining weight, right? So it's so hard to be just dogmatic or just so emphatic about any particular belief system when it comes to health and wellness and diets and things like this. Because where you're at today, only time's going to tell if you're this committed in 5 years. Only time's going to tell, right? So be gentle with people, because the person who's feeling good and fit and everything right now, I follow this kid. Some of you may know him. His name's Ethan Bernard. Big old kid, right? I think he's like 500 pounds or something like that, dude. Like I don't even know what it's like to be that big. I've never been that big. He had a built-in audience, I think, because he used to do Twitch streaming. So he had a pretty good following, and he started doing a weight loss journey type thing. And I saw him making an Instagram post a couple days ago, and you could tell he was just kind of down. And he's like, last couple of weeks, and he's got a trainer. He tracks. He meets with this trainer. He does weekly weigh-ins. He does all the stuff. And guess what? He goes, last couple of weeks, I've been slipping into some bad habits, reverting into some of my old ways. He goes, I know where I'm at. I know what I need to do. And I'm trying to course correct right now. And he's saying all these types of things, right? And I know right where he's at. And I feel for him, and he'll never read my comment. The guy's got way too many followers, but I sent him a message, which I don't ever expect to return a reply, but I just want to say, hey, I've been following you for a while. Don't worry, you got this. You can do it. You know exactly what to do. Just get right back on track, and you got this. And there was 1,500 comments in the comment section, and I started just going through a few of them. And dude, people are like, this guy's mental. He should be in a hospital. He needs a psychiatrist. This is the same old cycle with him. They were just like going off and ripping on this poor guy. And I'm going, that's not helping. He's way bigger than I ever was, but he's putting it out there, because someone is getting something from him sharing his journey. It's the same here with me on a little teeny microcosm. In comparison. We don't have millions of followers. We don't have anything like that. So you got to figure out what works for you. I don't believe, and nobody's going to convince me that there's one way. There's a lot of ways to get to the top of this mountain. I do believe there are habits that are better than others. But I've been, like every single one of you in this chat right now, from John to Banjo to Sharon to the chairman to It's Time to Be Nice to Adam, I think I don't know I don't know most of you personally, but I've seen you in the comments section on my channel for long enough. I know where most of you are at right now, and I've been exactly where you're at. I've been super fit and said I'm never going back. I feel incredible. I've got my why. I'm locked in. I'm not changing. I've been stuck in a rut. I've been fat and depressed and miserable, and where I'm beating myself up mentally. Um, you know, and I think there's not one right way. There's what works for each individual person. I used to be very I'm embarrassed about how, dogmatic I was about the diet I was on or whatever. It's like, if you're not doing what I'm doing, you're a loser. But I've changed and come off that because I think there's a lot of ways to get to where we're going. And I've done it with 3 or 4 different methods. So it's not really about the method. It's about the consistency. And people struggle with consistency for various reasons. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes there may be past trauma in your life. Some people feel stuck, like I can get to a certain point and I can't move forward. That's when therapy and things like that might come into play. But but I think the key is, now I have seen people come up with a plan that I think is maybe the wrong plan. You can definitely come up with a plan that doesn't work. But again, if you don't work, but Zeberg90, are you gay? No, I'm afraid I just have an immaculate haircut. Sorry, but I'm not gay. I like the ladies. And I've been married for 32 years, so. And ultimately, weight loss does really comes down to one thing. I don't want to simplify it as much as calories in, calories out, because we can have a whole nother debate about, cellular health and what's better in the long run and what makes you more for longevity, But don't you think it's funny that all these health and fitness gurus also die when they're in their 70s? So, what's really better? I don't know. You know what I mean? But all the old fitness buffs and everything still die, just like everybody else. So I really just think, science changes all the time, research changes all the time, big studies are bought by big pharma and corporations and people who want the results to end up the way that they want them to end up. So, big fitness influencers are also vitamin salesmen and pushing their own protein powders and things like that. So, but really, when it really comes down to it, the way to lose 1 pound is to be in a 3,500 calorie deficit, right? We all pretty much know that. You can get there by expending more calories through exercise or by reducing calories by what you eat. And whether that means you eat a steak, a baked potato, and broccoli, and you want to track your calories in a calorie tracker and eat 3 meals a day or 5 or 6 times a day, or you want to supplement with a protein shake, or if you're going to be a vegan because you don't like meat, or you want to eat carnivore because you only like meat, or you want to do whatever, then you just got to figure out what works for you. You know what I mean? So what really works is consistency. Now, you can overeat on almost any diet too. So you can definitely be doing a keto diet like me, or you can be doing a well-balanced whole food diet. You can still overeat. You can. So, portion control, things like that, like I said, I never really get in the argument. I'm not going to argue with people about intermittent fasting or, there's studies for the good, there's studies for the bad on almost every single subject. So, I don't do a GLP-1, but I tell people if they want to, I support them. you know? But what's funny is they can't seem to support me in what I'm doing because they just come back over and over and over acting like it's the only way. I don't think it's the only way. I think if that's what you're doing, I think that's wonderful and you should keep doing it. And I think that if other people on this channel are trying to just eat what they consider right, and they are eating whatever kind of a diet that they're doing, and they are exercising, and they're trying to take a step forward in their life to hit a goal, then I think that you should support them in that. And we should find the common ground where we can all move forward together and move the needle in the positive direction in our life. My goal is to lose 110 pounds or close to it, to get down to where I was before, in the 162 to 155 pound range. I am battling type 2 diabetic. But a GLP-1 is not the only way to fight diabetes, John. So again, I get it. That's why they were developed. They weren't developed as a weight loss drug. They were developed as a diabetic drug to help fight glucose. Well, so was metformin and other pills. And I know you said that you're on the same pill that I'm taking right now. That was, but my goal is to not be on any drug. That's my goal. My A1C is where it needs to be. I'll probably always be on some form of a low carb diet because that does help control the cravings, helps control the blood sugar, helps keep the A1C in check. But again, if someone else is doing a GLP-1 for their type 2 diabetes or just because they want to lose weight, I'm all for it. I have nothing bad to say about anyone who's doing that. So, and again, when I was diagnosed type 2, I was, my A1C was a 13.6. Doctor came in and my blood sugar was like, I don't know, like 350 or something. It was pretty bad. I was out of control. I was eating like crap. I was on 0 medication. I was 289 pounds. I was at the heaviest I'd ever been. Was not exercising, living a very sedentary lifestyle. And that kind of freaked me out. It gave me an immediate why. And, I went on basically a low to no carb diet. And I did get on the medication the doctor put me on. It's called the Zig Duo. It's kind of a dual medication, metformin with some, I can't remember the name of it, but it's there to help protect some of your organs and stuff. It's kind of stupid. You take a dual drug, one to help you, one to stop the other drug from hurting you, basically. This is why I don't like taking any kind of pill. And within 3 months, she cut my dose in half because my A1C went from a 13.6 to a 6.2. I was diagnosed in November. By March, it was a 6.2. And then since then, it's kind of leveled off around 5.8, 5.9. But it's at least in a range that's acceptable. I'd like to get it down a little bit more. And one of the things I struggle with is I still struggle with some of the ups and downs. Now, when I'm on a ketogenic diet and I'm fat adapted and I stay good long enough, I lose all my cravings. I don't have any cravings for snacks, for treats, for chips and candies and all that kind of stuff. Those cravings go away. That's one of the reasons why I like that kind of a diet. A lot of the same things that like people on GLP-1 swear by and say, it helps curb the craving, helps curb the appetite, things like that. So, yeah, same kind of result, John. 4.9. I'd like to get down there. That's great. But I'm doing it my way, guys, and I'm here to share the journey. I'm here to impart some sort of knowledge. Most of my knowledge. My background is really in personal development. Like I said, I do have some transformation experience by winning that contest, and I was actually paid to coach people for a while, so I'm not oblivious. I have been studying nutrition and different diets. I've tried them all. I've done a lot of studying over the years, but I'm not going to claim to be a dietitian or an expert. I know enough to know what I want to do, but I'm not one of these guys that knows enough to argue with people and to I'm really, really, really bad at quoting things. So like, I'm not gonna be like, well, the study done by Harvard in 2025, in the November or fall of whatever said this, that's not me. I'm not that guy. So I'm not gonna argue. You do you, I'll do me, right? Then we can support each other in our goals. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm gonna keep doing me. Right now, again, my plan is very simple. I've scaled it back because of the shoulder. I mean, sometimes I move my arm like this, like literally that much. Can you see this down in the corner? Like that much, and my arm just, it'll kill. So I'm not lifting weights right now with that arm. It is feeling better than it was 3 weeks ago. I can kind of rotate it, and it does hurt. I can kind of lift it, and it hurts. Hurts right in here and right back in here. My son thinks it's more of a rotator cuff. He's in school for this kind of thing. He was trying to become an orthopedic surgeon. So at least he's heading that direction, but he's not one yet. But I'm going to keep doing me, right? And I like doing YouTube. It's fun. I like sharing the accountability. I like sharing the journey. I like interacting with you folks. Not everyone's always friendly, but that comes with the territory. I'm okay. I've got, at least somewhat thick skin. But I want to hit the goal. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to keep doing my 3 things. I'm going to keep doing my intermittent fasting Monday through Friday and sticking with the ketogenic diet, except for when I have plans to not do that. I'm doing my very, very best to reset myself mentally so that I don't spiral. And I don't hide from the scale, because those things have been my problem in the past. And I have a lot of stress right now in my life that I'm not going to talk about on YouTube. And that has been a challenge. So just know that that's going on. And I'm going to keep going on 30-minute walks every day. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep those 3 promises. And probably in the next couple weeks, if the shoulder continues to feel better, I don't think I'll be able to go back to weights, but what I can do is I can start adding things that don't affect the shoulder. Like I'll probably start doing some squats again, doing some calf raises, doing some lower body things that don't affect the shoulder at all, right? And I might even be able to do some curls or something, start getting in a little bit more strength workout. But I'm going to stay away from anything that does hurt the shoulder. So that is my plan. That is where I've been. I've got 120-day progress pictures and measurements coming up in a couple weeks. I really don't want to bonk that again. I wasn't really happy with my, I did 120 days. This will be 150 days. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I did do 120 days. I wasn't happy with 120 days. I was really happy with the 90s. So 120. So yeah. Anyway, the goal is to get back down to my new low. My most recent low was 228. So that's the first plan. Get back there and then break 220 and then keep on going. So anyway, yes, it's time to be nice. Yes, we can. Many of you are like, my journey's mirroring yours. So when you screw up, I screw up. So. Yes, I realize I do have somewhat of a responsibility with the channel. This is not do as I say. It's do as I do. Come follow me, not let me tell you what to do. So I will do my best to lead the way. And doing it for myself, but you guys matter to me too. So anyway, that's the live stream, guys. If you got anything out of this episode, feel free to leave a super chat. You can donate to the channel, and like I said, $5, $10, $20. I had someone leave $100. It's awesome. It helps out. I'm almost to $500 on YouTube, and that's when I'll actually put my bank account in and actually transfer the money out and buy that receiver. So, I'm averaging about $1.50 a day, 45 cents an hour roughly. So, about 45 more years we'll be rich. So anyway, appreciate you guys. For those of you who put up with me through the ups and downs, I really thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the lives. Thank you for tuning in daily. I'm trying to show up every single day. It's not always easy. It's not always easy. But I'm glad I can do it, and I'm committed to keep doing it. So anyway, thanks you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I hope you have a good night. And tomorrow I am traveling to California, so it's going to be a story time with Dude. And if I can find those before and after pictures, I do want to show those and talk about my initial transformation journey. So that will be tomorrow night. Tune in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Dude, out.